At first glance, the road looks like any other stretch of Missouri asphalt, flat, quiet, unremarkable. Then the fence appears. Tall, layered, laced with barbed wire and humming with lethal voltage. This is where the outside world ends. The Northeast Correctional Center sits far from downtown St. Louis, but the city's problems echo loudly here. Violence, addiction, poverty, desperation. Everything that spills over in the streets eventually funnels into this place. Once the gate's close behind you, time slows, space shrinks, and survival becomes the only rule that matters. Inside these walls, mistakes don't fade. They follow you. They live in your cell, eat beside you, sleep inches away. This is not a place for second chances. Not at first. The morning begins before the sun rises. At exactly 6 a.m., the first count echoes through the housing units. Metal doors rattle. Boots scrape concrete. Names are called. Faces are checked. Everyone must be alive, present, and accounted for. In prison, existence itself is verified daily. 2 men share cells barely large enough for one. 16 share showers with broken curtains and water that shifts between cold and colder. Privacy is a memory. Silence is rare. Respect is currency. On the B side of the prison, the more volatile half, every movement is watched. Cameras line the walls. Guards monitor from a central control room that functions like a brain, processing signals, alarms, and radio calls without pause. Nearly 400 cameras capture everything. Arguments, routines, tension simmering just below the surface. Beyond the yard stands the electric fence. It doesn't just keep people in, it reminds them where they are. The hum is psychological. A promise. No one who touches it survives. Prisoners arrive exhausted, shackled, silent. After 12 hours on a transport bus, new inmates are marched through layered security gates. Hands cuffed, legs chained, every step controlled. Their bodies are scanned by machines capable of detecting metal, liquid, or powder, inside or out. Drugs, weapons, anything hidden will be found. Here escape isn't unlikely. It's impossible. Once cleared, the gates slide open again and the men disappear into the system. Just another intake. Just another number. For the men already inside, the day unfolds with rigid predictability. Breakfast, assignments, work details, yard time, if allowed. Routine is safety. Routine is survival. Carlos Ashcraft has learned that well. He moves through the housing unit with purpose, handling small responsibilities others depend on. He checks in. He listens. He talks. In a place where weakness can get you hurt, presence matters. Respect matters. In his cell he keeps order. Clothes folded. Food organized. Space controlled. Prison strips men of choice so they cling to whatever control they can find. Carlos shares his cell with someone nothing like him on the outside. Different race. Different background. Inside, those differences mean less than people imagine. Prison forces proximity. You either learn coexistence, or you don't last. Here we're brothers, he says. Out there we were strangers. But the threat never disappears. On the other side of the fence, Ashley Brooks begins her day much like any working parent. Kids to feed. Schedules to coordinate. A brief moment of normalcy before stepping into a world built on control and caution. Ashley is not just a correctional officer. She is the deputy warden. Her role demands vigilance. Every day, every interaction, she passes through the same scanners as everyone else. No exceptions. Authority doesn't bypass security, it heightens responsibility. More than 100 staff and visitors move through the gates daily. Any one of them could bring danger inside. Drugs, weapons, information. Trust is limited. Procedures are absolute. Ashley understands something many outsiders don't. Prisons are unpredictable because people are unpredictable. One bad decision, one emotional moment, one misunderstanding, and the entire institution can lock down in seconds. On the A side, things look different. Better behavior, more privileges, more trust. But trust is fragile. The prison operates like a living organism. When one part falters, everything reacts. That's why emergency response teams train relentlessly. Physical endurance tests push officers to exhaustion. Running, climbing, lifting. But the real test isn't strength. It's mental control. In 2017, a violent assault changed everything. The facility locked down. Outside teams flooded in. Order had to be restored piece by piece. The lesson lingered. Calm can vanish without warning. It happens again today. An alarm pierces the air. A 105 officer needs assistance. Training evaporates into instinct. Officers who were moments ago gasping for breath sprint toward danger. Prisoners are rushed back into cells. Gates slam. Radios crackle. The organism reacts. Within minutes, control is restored. No one seriously hurt. Situation contained. But the tension lingers, invisible yet heavy. From the control center, staff watch it all unfold. Every movement. Every locked door. The prison never sleeps, not really. Even when calm returns, vigilance remains. Above it all, the fence hums quietly. Somewhere between punishment and reform, between despair and discipline, a question hangs unanswered. Is this place only meant to hold men, or can it change them? For now the day moves on. Lunch will be served. Jobs will resume. The count will come again. Behind the fence, time doesn't stop. It only repeats. By late morning, the prison settles into a rhythm that almost feels normal. Almost. Work crews move in lines. Doors open and close on schedule. Radios crackle with routine updates instead of alarms. Almost normal is the best this place ever gets. Michael Whitfield walks the long corridor toward the main building, keys clipped to his belt. That alone makes him different. Keys are power here, and power is rarely trusted to inmates. Michael has earned it over decades, not through force but consistency. He is 60 years old. He has spent more than half his life behind these walls. Time has stripped away urgency, ambition, even anger. What remains is patience and an almost stubborn belief that people can still become something better than their worst moment. Michael works in food services, one of the few jobs that requires moving freely between sections of the prison. Each morning he checks the freezers, inventories and used meals, returns supplies. It's physical work, lifting crates, pushing carts, navigating narrow hallways, but it keeps him grounded. I need purpose, he says simply. Without it, days blur together. Lunch arrives at 11:45 sharp. The meals are basic. Rice, vegetables. Protein measured by budget, not appetite. The food isn't the point. The ritual is sitting down, eating, marking another day survived. On the B side, afternoons are louder. The yard opens. Bodies move. Weights slam. Basketballs echo against concrete. The gym becomes a release valve for tension that has nowhere else to go. Carlos Ashcraft walks the yard, greeting people by name. He checks who needs soap, who needs advice, who needs to cool off before something escalates. In a place where conflicts can ignite over nothing, awareness is everything. He understands the unspoken rules. Don't stare too long. Don't interrupt a conversation that isn't yours. Don't show weakness, but don't show arrogance either. Prison is a language. Carlos is fluent. Yet even he knows this side of the prison is fragile. One fight. One disrespectful comment. One bad day, and the balance shatters. That's why the A side feels unreal. Across the yard, beyond another set of controlled gates, stands a wing unlike any other in Missouri. No officer stationed inside. No constant supervision. Individual cells. Open doors. They call it Dynamo. The idea didn't come from the United States. It came from Norway, a country that believes prisons should prepare people for freedom, not just punish them. Here, inmates are called residents. To qualify, men must have served at least 15 years without serious disciplinary issues. No drugs. No violence. No infractions. Trust is granted slowly and it can be taken away instantly. Michael Whitfield is one of the longest-standing members. He unlocks the gate himself and steps inside. The difference is immediate. The noise drops. The air feels lighter. Doors stay open. Men greet each other without suspicion. Conflicts are handled with conversation, not intimidation. In Dynamo, residents clean their own spaces. They cook together. They hold meetings. They take responsibility, not because they're forced to, but because the program demands it. It's not freedom, Michael says, but it teaches you how to handle it. Today, new residents are arriving. Transfers from harsher units. Men who have spent decades sleeping inches from another body. Men who have never closed a door behind themselves. They arrive nervous, quiet, unsure whether this place is real or another test. Michael meets them at the gate. Introductions are simple. Names. Handshakes. Eye contact. He doesn't rush them. Change needs room to breathe. This is a different world, he tells them. Same prison. Different rules. One man pauses at the threshold of his cell, staring at the door in disbelief. He opens it. Steps inside. Turns around. Closes it. Alone. For the first time in decades. That night he won't sleep. Not because he's afraid, but because his body doesn't understand silence yet. While Dynamo builds something fragile and hopeful, The rest of the prison operates under constant scrutiny. Deputy Warden Ashley Brooks moves through the B-side with Lieutenant Jacob Wiegand. They've received a tip. Not every warning leads to something, but every warning must be treated seriously. Cell searches are methodical, controlled, thorough. Ashley watches closely as Jacob searches the inmate first. Hands, waistband. Then the cell itself, bunks, lockers, hygiene items. Anything can hide contraband. Toothpaste tubes, paper notes, bottles with altered weight. They find a scrap of paper referencing an outside payment app. Money inside prison moves quietly. Families on the outside. Drugs on the inside. A digital trail connecting both worlds. Ashley notes it. Some searches turn hostile. Today doesn't. The inmate stays calm. The cell yields nothing dangerous. Still, routine is never relaxed. Across another housing unit, a group of inmates kneel in the grass beside puppies. This is Puppies for Parole. Rescue dogs from shelters are paired with inmates, who train and care for them full-time. The dogs learn obedience. The men learn responsibility, patience, accountability. The dogs sleep in cells. Schedules adjust. Lockers are removed to make space. Lives, human and animal, adapt together. For some of us, one inmate says, this is the first thing that's depended on us in years. The dogs don't care about past crimes. They respond to tone, consistency, care. In a place built on punishment that feels revolutionary. Back in Dynamo, evening approaches. Residents gather for meetings. Issues are raised openly. Cleaning duties assigned. Expectations reinforced. No guards step in. Trust fills the space where authority usually lives. Michael watches the new residents carefully. The transition is delicate. Too much freedom, too fast, can overwhelm men conditioned by decades of control. Take it slow, he advises. This place only works if we protect it. Outside, the Bloodhound unit trains relentlessly. Dogs track scents through mud, brush, and uneven terrain. Since the prison opened, no inmate has escaped, but preparation never stops. Complacency is dangerous. As night falls, count time arrives again. Doors close across the facility. Radios report status. Numbers match. Silence returns. Carlos returns to his cell, setting out clothes for the next day. Routine anchors him. Without it, thoughts wander to places he can't afford to go. Ashley finishes her shift later than planned. As always, she checks in with staff, reviews reports, ensures stability before leaving. The prison breathes steady for now. But beneath the routines, something is shifting. Two philosophies exist within the same walls. One built on control. The other on trust. They cannot ignore each other forever. And tomorrow both will be tested. Night in prison is never completely dark. Emergency lights hum softly. Cameras blink red. Somewhere a door echoes shut. Even in rest, the institution remains alert, breathing through wires, walls, and watchful eyes. Michael Whitfield lies on his bunk staring at the ceiling of his cell in Dynamo. The door is closed, not locked, just closed. That difference still matters. It always will. For decades, he slept knowing another man was only inches away. Every cough, every movement, every breath shared. Now silence fills the room. Some nights it comforts him. Other nights it reminds him of everything he's lost. Freedom, he's learned, isn't something you step into. It's something you have to relearn. On the B-side, Carlos Ashcraft settles into his routine. Hygiene. Clothes folded. Food stored. The smallest rituals keep his mind steady. Prison doesn't just punish the body, it tests the psyche. One careless moment, one emotional slip, can undo years of survival. He looks through the narrow window of his cell toward the sky. Just a slice. Enough to remind him the world still exists. Someday, he says quietly. Not as a promise, just a possibility. Morning comes fast. At roll call, something feels off. A delay. A radio call repeated twice. Officers move with urgency but not panic. That's how trouble often begins, not loud but subtle. In the control center, screens flicker as camera feeds shift. An argument in the yard. Raised voices. Body language turning sharp. Staff respond immediately, positioning themselves before escalation becomes violence. This is the line prisons walk every day. On the A side, Dynamo residents gather for breakfast. They eat together. Joke lightly. To outsiders it might look ordinary. Inside these walls it's radical. One of the newer residents grows tense. He paces. Too much space. Too much choice. Too little structure. The habits of survival don't disappear just because conditions improve. Michael notices. He doesn't confront him. He sits beside him. First weeks are the hardest, Michael says. You don't realize how much the noise and chaos were holding your thoughts together. The man nods. Says nothing. Later that day, Ashley Brooks receives the report. A minor incident on the B side. No injuries. Situation contained. Still, she knows how quickly minor can become something else. She walks the compound, checking in with staff. Listening. Watching. Leadership here isn't about authority, it's about presence. When she reaches Dynamo, she pauses longer than usual. This unit still draws skepticism. No officers inside. Too much trust. Too much risk. And yet, the data doesn't lie. No fights. No drugs. No overdoses. No violent incidents. Trust, it turns out, can be a form of control too. In the afternoon, Michael works in the restorative justice workshop. Wooden projects line the room. Tables, shelves, items built to be auctioned for community programs. Churches, schools, shelters. Men who once took from society now create for it. One inmate runs his hands over the grain of a finished piece. I can't undo what I did, he says. But I can decide what I do now. That's the core of the program. Accountability without humiliation. Purpose without illusion. Outside, the Bloodhound team trains again. Dogs run full speed, noses low, tracking invisible trails across uneven ground. The handlers follow, focused and disciplined. The message is clear. Preparation never stops. Hope doesn't replace security. It works alongside it. As evening approaches, tension rises again on the B side. A disagreement in the gym over something trivial, a closed gate, a careless comment. Voices rise. Postures stiffen. An officer steps in early. Firm. Calm. It de-escalates. Carlos watches from a distance. He exhales slowly. He's seen how quickly moments like this spiral. Today they didn't. Progress here is measured in what doesn't happen. Count time arrives. One by one units report in. Numbers match. Doors close. Another day accounted for. Ashley finishes paperwork late as always. Before leaving, she checks the control center one last time. The screens show stillness. Order. She knows tomorrow could be different. It always can be. Back in Dynamo, residents prepare for night. Doors close softly. Conversations fade. Lights dim. Michael sits on his bunk, reflecting on the day. He has been incarcerated for more than 30 years. He may never leave this place. Or he might, someday. Either way, something has changed. For the first time, he doesn't feel like time is only being taken from him. It's being used. Across the prison, Carlos lies down, hands folded behind his head. Another day survived. Another day closer to whatever comes next. He doesn't know what freedom will look like, but he knows it won't come automatically. It has to be learned. The Northeast Correctional Center stands silent under the Missouri night. Electric fences hum. Cameras watch. Dogs rest after training. Inside these walls, two truths exist at once. Punishment and possibility. Control and trust. The past and the chance, however fragile, for something different. Prison doesn't end at the gate. But change doesn't either. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing inside these walls isn't violence, it's hope.